our friend over here is making some goofs. He's on the goof cam
Oh my god.
because it's called God of War.
Why don't they just call it God of War 4? It's clearly part 4. Just call it that.
Well, it's a very much a tonal reset and gameplay reset. So I'm okay with it being kind of a soft, like kind of just going back to the original title. For those who don't know, the original God of War series on like the PlayStation 2 and 3, it was very much like a chaos, like a Devil May Cry, crazy, high combo beat 'em up kind of game. And this one is very much not that. It still definitely has some combat, but it's much more kind of open world. It's not a super like a truly open world, but it's much more kind of free in terms of it's a much less linear game than previous titles, and the combat is much more, I guess, is grounded the right word?
No, actually, if we can spend just a little bit talking about God of War, I think that game is special for a lot of different reasons.
I would agree. I'm very much enjoying it so far.
You are correct. It is a huge soft reboot. Well, it's kind of a hard reboot of like gameplay, of storytelling. Because in the story of the first 3 God of Wars, I have them sitting on my shelf in my
story.
It was just about Kratos just. There's a story there. It's a Grecian story about revenge. Those stories exist, and it's fine. They're fun. I mean, it's all about Kratos just killing all of the Greek pantheon gods, and that's a story, and his trials and tribulations to do it. But this one is like a really deep bonding story about Kratos bonding with his
boy,
sometimes bratty son. Drinking game. Take a sip of your drink, any hard drink, whenever Kratos says the word boy. And you will not make it.
That was a little too Cletus. Boy.
You will be
I just can't do
it. He barely calls him by his name. I love the combat in the new God of War. His new it's not the Blades of Chaos, but the Leviathan axe is great. It's a good little mix-up. It's got great little puzzle elements to it, more than I expected. I love the bonding relationship that Kratos develops with his son Atreus throughout the game, because it kind of starts off where you don't really know, like, does Kratos actually like this kid or not? And as you kind of progress through the game, it starts to kind of answer that question one way or another. I really don't want to get into spoilers because the game's, like, really, really fresh. So none of that. It has excellent, and God of War is always known for this, just having great set pieces, and some of the set pieces and cinematics in this game are gorgeous for Norse mythology speaking, just larger than life
pantheon of gods and that whole mythology, and definitely, like you said, anyone who had any concerns about this, about the alleged grounding of God of War, there's definitely, based on I don't know how far I am through the story, but I've definitely seen some stuff that has been pretty epic in scope in terms of what you're fighting and encounters. So you will not, that stuff is still there, don't worry. It just, when it comes, there's very much a great build up towards it, and it definitely kind of, because they've kind of reset the scale and scope of it, that stuff that, it's just like compared to anything else in the game, it just is just mind blowing, and it totally works. We already talked about like the world building, which I really like. The environment's really cool. For certain reasons, I think some of the sound design in a couple of scenes is just super rad, and there hasn't been a lot of times when I've been playing a game where I've been like literally out loud to myself like, oh wow, oh boy. Like there hasn't been like that just doesn't really happen, and that happened in this game. So there's some really cool moments that are really just like, oh wow.
I don't want to give it away, but there's one thing that happens. I think I know what I'm talking about.
Yes. If you've seen a trailer, you've probably seen it though, so it's not that big of a deal.
There's a moment where you meet a big thing, and when that big thing starts doing another thing, and the sound
your
design
TV
for
makes
that,
a sound it's never done before, and in a way that is really
cool. I'm
cool.
trying not to give away too much.
And might shake something loose if something isn't screwed down.
Yeah, if you've seen the trailer, you put 2 and 2 together, and you'll come up with the 4. When this thing talks to you, there's never a moment where that isn't just amazing in the game presentation.
Like it's really cool. There's a lot of.
I was wondering,
really cool
how did you do that? What sort of sound mixing did you do to produce this? Because I think you hit the nail on the head. I've never heard that particular register of sound coming out of my speakers. It's like the scale of that game. I know it's an open world game, so everyone always talks about the scale of an open world game. But the scale of this open world game does something special with it. It's not only larger than life because there's a lot to do, and of course there's a lot of there's literally in your menu a checklist of things to do like a proper open world game should have. But this checklist of things to do, you can start running down, and the world actually gets bigger as you. I don't know how to best describe that. There are certain things in the world just bigger the more you go on than what you believe it would be. It's not like a skyscraper in Grand Theft Auto 5. It's like this enemy is stupidly enormous and you have to fight it. Good luck to you. What have you. Yeah, it keeps opening up. Like, it keeps getting bigger. The world that you're exploring just... There's actually a part when I beat the game where there was so... I think I told you guys this in our chat. There's so much game left that I'm curious if I would sound silly for saying I think there's actually too much game. Because there's a certain point where it's... There was a certain point, at least for me when I'm playing, where I'm like, I'm really glad this exists for someone that cares about it, but holy crap, that's a lot of game. You're asking me to do... And it's not just like little pieces, like, go kill this group over here,
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious to see... I mean, I'm still kind of playing through the story, but based on, what I've heard about people's thoughts about the game, I'm really curious to see... what they do next. I mean, not to say like there isn't still a lot of stuff to dig through and get from this. I'm just really I think they've got a great foundation to do some new stuff and there's still lots of room to like build on the gameplay. And I guess one kind of I don't know how much more we want to dwell on God of War, but I mean, I'm just sidebar. I'm really liking it as someone who's never played any other God of War game. I have really enjoyed this game. So don't. I mean, and you can kind of. It's pretty easy to pick up on the beats of like if you haven't played those games. I mean, obviously there's like context that is helpful, but I haven't felt like that's reduced my enjoyment of the game at all. And just like it kind of is crazy how much. Sony Santa Monica Studios are able to get out of a PlayStation. Like, it is... I mean, there's definitely, like, a lot of tricks that they're kind of using to disguise just to kind of disguise the scope in ways, but it's clear that there's like the craftsmanship is apparent because it's just, man, it's really cool to see that. I guess it's the larger thing for Sony. It's like it's really cool to see them investing heavily in big scope, kind of single player games that just do an incredible job of showcasing it just does not sometimes it just does not make any sense how this is running on a PlayStation. Like, it just blows my mind. It's like this looks so good. Like, this is, and it's not just like the raw graphics are insane, but like it's just the design and the art and the all the design behind that is so intelligent too, and it works so well together. So it's just, I think it's just really cool to see how well coordinated and clearly how much effort was put into just that the visuals of the game from the ground up. And it's special. It's really worth, if you have a play, like, this game is why a lot of people are gonna finally get a PS4. Like, it is a flagship console moving. Like, it's like, the true blockbuster, and they've, based on what I played, like, they've absolutely knocked it out of the park, and it's crazy.
If I had negatives to say about it, and I don't have many, because I thoroughly enjoyed everything I played about it. If you play the game for about 5 hours, it runs into that open world trapping of, okay, you've literally seen every enemy type in the game. Now it's just recolors of different ones from here on out. After probably like the 5 hour mark. There's like one certain point where you go to like a new location and you see some new enemy types, but that'll be it. That's like the extent of what you're getting. And that's fine, that's the same. That happens in every single God of War game. That happens in most open world games. It's nothing new. I do love some of the world building that's done from because Sony Santa Monica didn't ignore the other 3 God of War games. It does make very small, and then as the story progresses, very large hints and callbacks to the other games. And it's because Kratos is, it looks like he's in his 60s.
He's not that. I would say he's like
much
in
older
his
now.
Late 40s, 50s.
Well, see, I don't know, because he's a god, and he ages differently because of that.
He's a demigod.
Well, yeah.
He looks like someone in his 50s.
So actually, if you'll allow me to adjust my
actually,
when you beat God of War 1, he ascends into godhood. And then in God of War 2, he loses his godhood, then at some point he gets it back. I don't know.
What? Huh?
Hey, there's a story in the game, damn it. The story is there. It's not rich. It's... Speaking of which, speaking of a rich story, there's one last game I played during our break, and I beat Nier Automata on all the other paths. The last time I checked in with it, I beat only Route A. Then after much convincing from Mike to just keep pushing through it, I decided one day, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna really give this a shot. I'm going to Route B right now. I beat Route B. I was like, all right, that was kind of wicked. That's kind of nice. I beat Route C.
Yeah.
I'm here to stay. Where's this going? Then Route D and
yeah.
Oh.
And like
and then Route E. I'm not gonna lie. Route E
made me tear up too.
I'm a grown man.
I think, like I said during our Game of the Year podcast, I'll probably play games with better combat. I'll probably play games with better graphics. I'll probably play. There are a lot of things individually about Nier that will definitely be exceeded by other games. But I really don't think I will ever forget that game. Like, just the characters, like the storytelling. like just it's a game that I feel like
No.
actually
Nah.
has themes and motifs and builds on them and pays them off well. And it's not just like a game about robots or like are robots are people. And it's like, no, dog, what are people? And it actually like does interesting stuff with that question instead of like there's a lot of very easy AI like tropes for that game to fall into, and it doesn't. And then
It goes much deeper than that.
it sets a very clear like kind of. I mean, like I said, it sets up to have those tropes, and then it just completely like throws them out the window. It does something completely different, and then it's an ending in a game that feels like it has consequences in a way that literally no other game does.
To be fair, the first Nier game had a similar ending. I looked this up on the wiki. Because after I beat Nier Automata, I went ahead and subscribed to Yoko Taro's Twitter because he instantly became one of my favorite game designers. You're now in the top 5, Yoko Taro. Congratulations. That was amazing. But I started researching all of his previous work, and the first Nier game, the one that nobody played, Nier Gestalt and Nier, I forget what the other subtitle is. Those have similar endings, but the combat is bad. And that's the thing with Yoko Taro's like previous games. He always told these great stories, but the games just weren't fun to play. So Platinum Games making this, because Platinum Games has been, let's call it what it is, they've been making some bad games lately. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I see you, Platinum Games. The game wasn't good. Star Fox Zero, I see you, Platinum Games. That game was not good. That was not a good video game. Then they made this, and now what happened? Like a year later, it's like they were sitting on their talent and sitting on their like ambition, and they were just like, we just need a proper direction, and then they make this dynamite
all glory to mankind
game of probably one of the best games ever made.
Man, that game
I don't say
rips.
that lightly. Nier Automata is definitely one of the best games ever made.
Oh,
easily.
And it has themes, it builds on them throughout the game.
And
like
the soundtrack,
the instrumentation gets more complicated.
The soundtrack of that game.
The game is so good.